Good morning. So, shortly going to start our morning sessions in the studio, thankfully, in this weather. But wanted to touch on about what's a good starting weight to hit, or the next weight to hit. So this question actually comes from someone who'd hit their first target, which is about 7 kilos of weight loss, which is great. And this is relevant for that, but also relevant if you haven't hit a target yet and you're unsure, like what's good? Is it 1 to 2 pounds? Is it not? And I spoke about this a little bit the other week about get away from the 1 to 2 pounds a week necessarily and look more at, that's fine, by the way, 1 to 2 pounds, but you can get caught up with it and rather think about it in a point of view of losing 5% of your starting weight. The thing I love about 5% is, one, it's clinically significant statistic. So we know that losing 5% can result in greater control of blood sugar levels, risk of diabetes, potentially cardiovascular disease, mental health improvements. Could go on, and it's all relative, right? So if you lose 10 kilos, 5% of your new weight is less. So if you then work that out over the next 6 months, 3 months, whatever your target is, it's actually going to be a lower target per week. And that's what I love about it, because it becomes relative to you. Just like we can become frustrated when the other half loses twice as much as you, but yet they have double the amount to lose than you, right? But it can be frustrating when you look at the absolute number. So that's why I like the percentages. That's one option. Option two is, yes, you can use a BMI. There are certain drawbacks to it, of course, but for much of the population, it's actually not bad. The one issue you might run into is if you do lose some weight, that will lower your BMI. But then if you're like doing a lot of resistance exercise, muscle strengthening work, you're dropping inches, your clothes are fitting better, but the weight isn't shifting, you might be like, oh, my BMI is not changing yet. I'm 2 dress sizes smaller, 1 dress size smaller, perfect timing for Christmas, getting the dresses back out. But all of a sudden you're like, oh, my BMI, or you go and speak to someone in a one-off conversation and they just go, oh, you need to get your BMI down. You're like, I'm trying, I'm doing this. So that's one measure, and that's where my final point is the waist-hip ratio can be such a good tool. So take your waist, take it about 3 times to get an accurate measure around your belly button, okay? Then take your hips, widest part of the bum, take that 3 times to get an accurate measure. Then divide the waist, so waist divided by hips, okay, waist divided by hips. This will give you a score. Now, if it's below 0.85, that's the World Health Organization will deem that as kind of a lower risk of cardiovascular disease, heart disease, diabetes. If it's above, this is for women, by the way, if it's above 0.85, that's a slightly higher risk, diabetes, heart disease. And then if it's above 1, that's a very high risk. So the reason I quite like this is, yes, there are still errors, like everything. There are errors in humans, human errors, where we take it from, and then not to mention bloating, etc. So I wouldn't do this like every day or anything like that. Maybe a monthly basis or so. But the reason it's quite a good one to do is it will obviously account for fat and inch loss around the waist, which is an area where a lot of people want to work, but just know that it will be slower. So this is often the last place to go, but it's significant, which is good, like clinically significant in terms of our health as well. Plus it takes into account, to an extent, the muscle side of things as well, if you're doing resistance. So in all honesty, use a combination of all 3, because this will give you data to play with. And actually, just like one of the ladies said to me before, she was like, the fact that I take measurements means that I'm more likely to stick to it, because she's taken this to one step further. You didn't have to, but she measures like her calf. She's like, I lost 1 inch from my calf this week, and that was enough to keep me going. So I hope that helps. Any questions on that, let me know. Let me know how you track your food, not your food, your measurements, your progress as well, because there's many ways you can do it. Like, we have the 3 legs of the stool: the food, the fitness, the focus. And actually, deep down, we know if we follow these, we'll get the results that we want. So have an awesome Tuesday. Stay dry, wear your Ray Mac, and I'll see you soon.